Hello and welcome to our show, Film Talk with AJ Dean. I'm AJ Dean, your host, and I have the amazing, the best ever, I would say, co-host in the world, my friend and beautiful actor he is, Paul Vato. Hey, Paul, how's it shaking?
Hi, AJ. You are too kind, but all those words are true, so might as well say it. So thank you, AJ. Thanks for having me. I'm so
Well,
excited about tonight's show with Jason. I'm a big fan, and I've been wanting to talk to him for the longest time. So this is fantastic. Thank you.
me too, me too. And let's give a very warm welcome to Jason Corder of Corder Productions. He is an actor, writer, producer, and again, the founder of Corder Productions. Hey, Jason, it's so great to have you here on our show. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, AJ. But Paul, I think, I'm not sure you're going to be as big a fan after you see, the nitty gritty work. It was never good. No, I'm just kidding. But it's wonderful to be here, guys. Been looking forward to this for a long time, and really looking forward to the conversation.
We have too. And, we all met on Clubhouse, which is phenomenal, many months ago. And here we are again, and now in meeting in virtual reality. And it's truly amazing. And so I'm so thankful that you're here. And now, have you two met before on Zoom?
Not on Zoom, just on Clubhouse, I think.
Correct. Yeah, I haven't had the pleasure on Zoom,
Yeah.
but definitely on Clubhouse. And you made some, great offers when we were running those rooms on Clubhouse, and you're just so knowledgeable on filmmaking, acting, singing, everything, and getting people to film in Africa. So you're just such a big proponent of that. So thank you for sharing all that when we were on Clubhouse.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. I remember you very well and connecting with you there and your voice. And I love your humor
Thank you.
as well, which is nice. There's not enough humor, I think, in much of anything. I was mentioning to AJ before about my obsession with Monty Python. So
Yes, it's so true, Jason. I love humor, and I think that is so needed in our world. And Paul, you are a very funny guy, and so we appreciate your humor. And so thank you for that, Jason. And speaking of wonderful and fun things, we've got two great movie posters on screen. We've got Stay, where it says this movie poster, it's so cool. Check it out, Paul and everybody. Can love survive? She's Black and he's white. So we want to talk about that first, but also I just want to mention Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown. You also composed a wonderful piece for that. We're going to talk about that in a minute, but let's get to Stay. Stay is this incredible 2013 to 2016 TV series. It's a drama that you wrote, composed, you're the casting director, you produced it. Tell us what it's about. I love the poster. Take it away, Jason.
Oh, thank you so much, AJ. Yeah, that was a lot of fun, and in some ways it's still going, and I'm very much working now on a season 3. And sorry, I saw my lighting was doing some crazy stuff there. But Stay was something I conceived of while I was in Kenya, and I think it came, as I said, lived there a long time, and I think it came out of my own experiences now with. It's a long personal story, but let's just say that after a long marriage, etc., I found myself essentially in Kenya now, sort of older as a single male, and so I started to have relationships, with women there, and so it was born out of that, and born out of the kind of comedy and drama that I think are present in all, well, certainly in all relationships, but in this case, in sort of interracial and intercultural experiences, and so there, yeah, it was really born out of my own personal experiences in that way, and so I started to write it, and then I found the funding for it, and I pulled together a team of these young, amazing Kenyans, and we shot the entire thing in my house. And it was all just a really sort of beautiful experience. And we managed to get it on. We sort of had this deadline to get it on national TV, and we managed to get it on one of the three, kind of the NBC, ABC, CBS of Kenya. We managed to get it on one of those just in time, based on what our sponsor wanted. Our sponsor was a company called Nokia, which is no longer in existence. But at the time they were in existence, I think they were bought by Microsoft, right, eventually. But at the time they had a presence, actually, amazingly, in East Africa. And so we did a lot of product placement of Nokia phones in season one. And they essentially paid for the entire thing. I mean, it was a very, very low budget. I'm happy to even tell you what that was. I think you'll laugh if you knew, but we used we used we used a red camera. We made it look very cinematic. So yeah, it was a beautiful experience, and again, something very personal. And a lot of my work since then are just in general, because of my own experiences, touches on interracial, intercultural dynamics and relationships, touches on the outsider experience, which is something that I, in a way, had the pleasure of experiencing on some level, I guess you could say, because of where I was. And so a lot of my work and all my films since then touch on similar subjects as well.
This is so important. And I love this theme because you are bringing the world together. We need more of this, and it needs to be continued. And so this beautiful story that you have written and produced, and I even owned a Nokia phone. I remember that, Jason. I love it. I love that you immersed yourself. And now Kenya is in your heart, isn't it? It's a part of you. You will always have that. Tell us about what you loved about that, living there, and the experience and the people.
I mean, there's so much, obviously. Just, I mean, just to sort of give a general, it is a really extremely beautiful country. I think most people associate it with, the game parks, which, of course are beautiful. But it is kind of, in a way, it has that same geographical variation that California has. So it has deserts and very high mountains and sort of grasslands and beaches, and jungle, etc., all within one country. It is a very interesting place in that way. I think in some ways it's the most accessible country in the entire continent for foreigners to come to, I would say, on some level. But I mean, I would speak to the ingenuity of young Kenyans, just in general. I mean, not to take away from everyone, but I just, when I was there, and I've had this echoed in colleagues even that I'm working with now, there really is an extremely high level of talent.
Yeah.
There, an extremely high level of expertise. I don't know if you know, a lot of people don't know this. It's actually one of the tech hubs now of definitely of Africa, and actually one of the tech hubs of the world as well. There's incredible, coders and developers there. So it's a very talented, very beautiful place. And yes, I mean, the people are, totally amazing. There's a real range, though, kind of range, I guess, in a way that most Westerners wouldn't know. But once you're there for a long time, and within the people within the country, there is a real range, as well, even just of people's appearances and etc. So no, I feel very extremely privileged to have had the chance to spend the time there and learn from them. And I think this is something, I mean, I'm touching on, other subjects now, but this is also for me one of the most important things, especially about my own relationship with that continent and my time there, is that I didn't actually go there as the way most white people go there, which is as a sort of part of the humanitarian business. And you can probably tell I'm a little bit cynical about that already. I went there for love. I went there for my now ex-wife. I was sort of following her career. But um, and there is a big problem with most white people or most Westerners going there.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why there's a real conundrum. It's wonderful. I was lucky enough to go there not for this reason,
Right.
but most people go there with this assumption that they're going there to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with that assumption is that assumes a sense of superiority.
Yes. Yep.
If I'm going to get in my airplane or get in an airplane with the money that I have to do that and fly halfway around the world because I think I can help people,
Mm-hmm.
it automatically assumes those people are essentially below me.
Right. And
And I
that's
know
correct.
I'm tangenting here, but it's just a very important part of my work, and it's an important part of my, you know, my narrative or my attitude around this. So I in some ways I feel like I kind of got lucky because I got over there without going there as a sort of feeling that I was superior. I went there out of chance in a sense. And once I got there, not only was it a place that I could explore my own creativity, but it was a place where I was like, wow, there's all these incredibly talented, young people, and I get to work with them. I get to collaborate with them, and that's my privilege. That's my pleasure. Like, I'm lucky that in a sense, that I get to do this. But I'm also able to then be a voice to the rest of the world around what actually goes on there. Because I think most people don't know that there's some insanely talented populace of young Kenyans, both in tech, in film, in music, et cetera, et cetera. So
Absolutely. And I agree. I just love hearing that. I love listening to your stories and your heartfelt message of your experience there. It's really beautiful and it's so, so important. It's not that we are to look at the world as a tourist of what we can gain from it. It's what we can relate to and also have both experiences for both the country for us and for the country we're visiting, so that we can share and there can be a good exchange of, for us, understanding and respect and love. And then if we can give anything else, I don't know what we can give, but we offer that in case we can. But
or an
no,
equal, sorry to interrupt, but you said a good exchange. I would say an equal exchange.
yes, equal.
And I think that's an important part of it is sort of, sure, I might have things to teach you, but you certainly have things to teach me as well. And
Yes.
it's an equal exchange. And yeah, anyway.
I love that. Don't you love that, Paul?
Yeah, I certainly do, and it's and you're right. I think we forget that sometimes. It's people that are going to other parts of the country, whether it's Latin America or Africa. It's like I'm going there to help save people. So you're right. You're instantly in that position of superiority, of the white savior, if you will,
Yeah,
type
yeah,
of mentality. And
exactly.
so it's fantastic that you share that and you reiterate that they have just as much to teach us as we might be able to teach or help them with. And it's my understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but you touched on film as well. Obviously, your passion and what you do besides tech. But I know that Africa, and forgive me for just being so all encompassing, but
Sure.
and you could maybe tell me which locations, but I know that Africa has this thriving film community, this DIY uh, aspect to it, because maybe the funds aren't there, maybe the equipment isn't there. So they're actually shooting films that people are watching, or TV shows that make it to their big screens and get shared. And we might look at it and go like, oh my God, it's how did they even get this done? But they're getting it done. So it just shows you where there's a will, there's a way. We don't have any excuse to not get things done. So
Yeah.
thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very good point, actually. There's a whole continent of young people that are shooting stuff and just achieving stuff with very little. So it's a good reminder, in a way, for those of us in the West who might complain about, oh, we don't have the resources or whatnot. You can go out.
I mean, I'm ready to shoot my movie, but I've only got an iPhone 12. I need an iPhone
Right.
15. So anyone that wants to, please. Otherwise, I'm never going to get my movie done. You
Yeah,
know,
you
it's
can't. With the 12,
excuses.
it's not going to happen.
No,
15,
absolutely not.
good. 12, no, it's not.
It's like a year old. Absolutely not. I
No.
need I need the newest one.
It's only that's only what 2.1 billion pixels. You need 2.4 billion to be good, I think.
Obviously, obviously. Thank you.
Oh, here comes the bubbles.
I guess I'm blowing it too forceful. Let me slow it down.
Yay!
Okay, talk about that.
Champ-
Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, 2018. It's a TV series you composed and a documentary adventure. Tell us about that, Jason.
Yeah, that's a crazy story. And for those who know and love Anthony Bourdain, deeply, it is kind of a crazy one. I'll try to be brief because it is quite a complex and incredible story, but there's something crazy that happened to me. So I was actually, when I found myself in Kenya, and again, personal life, but found myself essentially there, divorced, not really any particular job. I actually arrived as a visual artist, by the way, and it was only because I had someone who said, you're kind of funny, you should start writing scripts. That's when I sort of began to switch over to the filmmaking business. That was about a decade ago. But anywho, one of the things I did to kind of make money essentially and kind of figure out work is I created projects for US embassies across Africa as an artist and as what I called a cultural envoy. And they would fund me to come there as a visual artist or as a filmmaker and do projects with a particular US embassy. So I did a few of those projects in Kinshasa, in what's known as the Democratic Republic of Congo, formerly known as Zaire. This is like the most massive country right in the center of Africa. Massive Congo jungle dominates most of it. So I was in a city in the very center of the Congo, quote, or of the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, a city called Kisangani. It's literally in the center of the jungle. And I was at the only guest house in town whatsoever, just a simple guest house. And I was sitting in the courtyard one day and I heard this New York accent behind me. I was like, who could that be? It's not like I'm expecting to hear a New York accent, much less an American. I turn around and it's Anthony Bourdain. And he's there with his entire film crew filming there. At that time, he did a piece on going down the Congo River and eating all this crazy bush meat and crazy shit. So he was there at the same guest house at the same time randomly. And we literally saw each other a few different times, breakfast here, dinner there. I tried to create banter whenever I could, and I tried to tell him, you've got to come to Kenya. I was living at Kenya this whole time. You've got to come. And he said, it's on the top of my list. I want to go there. I was like, you got to go. I was stupid enough not to somehow get his contact. I should have gotten it. But so last time I saw him, I sort of lost touch. I wasn't able to keep that, relationship going. Fast forward now, how is it? Only 3 years. I'm remembering exactly now. He comes to Kenya, right? He comes to Kenya. In fact, the people that host him and he stays with are all my friends. I don't see him then, but I know of all of his goings and comings, and because there's all my friends hosting him there in Kenya. And he films what ends up being now his penultimate episode of his life. The second to last episode that he made was in Kenya before he died. And so then randomly, because I'm from San Francisco and I've been missing it so badly the whole time I was in Africa, I was like, you know what? I really want to sell my music. I'm going to go find a distributor in San Francisco. So I find this random distributor in San Francisco. Lo and behold, they suddenly write me. There's a show called Parts Unknown, Anthony Bourdain. It's a CNN show. They want your song. And here's a very, very small amount of money for that, which I won't get into that. But I said, great. And not only did they take my song, and I recorded this song literally a shack in on the wrong side of the tracks of Nairobi with a crashing PC with one acoustic guitar and one incredible young Kenyan producer.
Wow.
And I should also say, and two, at the time, my sort of two bandmates, two rappers, two Kenyan rappers who were rapping in Swahili while I was doing an acoustic guitar riff and then singing the hook. And so not only did the Parts Unknown take that song, but they created this, what ended up being like literally a 90-second montage based on the lyrics of the song that they filmed in a certain, they call it a slum. That's, to us, that's a rude word. It's, it's a very, very, very poor part of town. And they actually copied some imagery from from a previous movie in Kenya of these kids with face paint and their heroes. Anyway, they did all of that, and they even juxtaposed my own voice, singing voice, with Anthony Bourdain's narrative voice, as they brought mine down and brought his up, and then they brought his down and brought mine up. Like, it was like, when I saw it, I was like, I can't even believe that they've done this. They created this whole piece in a way based on the kind of inspirational lyrics. The song is called I Could Be Something, and it's sort of this inspirational, lyrics in a sense. So that was a crazy deep honor for me. I was sad I never got to see him again. Again, I didn't actually see him when he was in Kenya, but it was a deep honor. And it was also for me honoring like that kind of music making that's very lo-fi. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world, but if the song, touches you, then, it's meaningful.
Wow, what a beautiful story. Of course, I was gonna make a joke like, I'm ready to record my song, but I only have an iPhone 12. Otherwise, I would. I need an iPhone 14 for that.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful story, and it just goes to show that maybe you and Anthony were destined to somehow come together, work together, and had he lived, I mean, you would have worked together again. I mean, it was just so random though that you happened to meet, and then I would imagine it wasn't because you were like, hey, here's my song, use it. I mean, they found it. They found you.
No, that was kind of random serendipity.
Congratulations, Jason. What a story. And, it's really phenomenal. I'm so proud of you.
By the way, also,
sorry
to interrupt you, but he was, just to let you know, when I met him in the guest house in the Congo, he was extremely friendly and polite. A real gentleman.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Special time, and what a special episode for you to be a part of that.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Can people find? I found a Jason Quarter on Spotify. Is that you? Because there's also a baseball player and a pervert out there. So I know that you're not those two. But is that you on Spotify?
So that's a good question. I hate that the answer is complicated. It's something that drives me crazy on a daily basis. So there's another Jason Quarter who is an ambient. He's in the ambient genre. He also spent time in France, where I spent time before I went to Nairobi. And it's just funny. And so sometimes we get confused. I always had my name on in the music world as just my last name. I was going for the one name guy. So I was Quarter. But somehow, some way, a lot of my music ended up on Spotify and other platforms as Jason Quarter. So you might find a couple things there that are not me. If it's ambient music, it's not me. If it's very hooky and simple and poppy, then it's me. Most of it is me, I will say. His is a bit more, whatever, underground, if you will. But yes, generally speaking, if you see Jason Quarter, that is me. Or if you see Quarter.
Of course, and it's spelled, for those that are listening, it's spelled Corder. So I like where you're going with this. There was Bono, Sting, and Quarter, of course. So
don't forget Beck, who is my hero. So there's the other one.
Wait, did you interview Beck? Are you friend? Was that you? No. Yes.
Okay. Yes and
it's
no.
Complicated.
Well, I did meet Beck and spent a good while with him backstage and gave him a painting I'd done for him, and that's a whole other story. But I don't know if maybe what you're referring to is that on Clubhouse, I ended up hosting a couple of rooms, yeah, with the #1 Beck sort of fan person on Instagram who goes by the name The Gospel of Beck. And I hosted a few rooms where because I've been a Beck obsessive for 25 years or 30 years, so I know everything there is to know about him as well, and she does too. So yeah, we had a few. That was me in terms of that.
I think that's what was what was in my mind was.
Sorry,
was,
not to. That's a whole nother tangent, but yes, the one name, but it didn't work. I tried, and then they just put that Jason in there. Because I felt like Quarter is such a musical name. It's like recorder.
Yeah, it really is.
Right?
Isn't there something like a quarter note maybe also? I don't know, but
well,
yeah,
that's what the Q. But that's what the QU. But you know.
So I wanted to. I have this pressing question that I wanted to ask you, Jason.
Yeah.
How did you become an envoy? What is it? How did you become an envoy for embassies?
Okay, I made up the title cultural envoy. There is like what is there? There's like a peace envoy. I mean, envoy is a French word that means to send. So, right. So it's kind of like you're sending this diplomat. That's the idea. I made up the cultural. I just learned who to approach at the embassy that has their hand on the purse strings for funding of this kind. And I think people love knowing numbers. Why do we hide them? So I was, just FYI for those of you who want to try to do this, I was getting budgets of between, I don't know, 15 and 30 grand to go and do a 2 or 3 week project in a certain country. And the proposal that I would give them, whether it was as a visual artist, I mentioned I was actually a visual artist for much of my life, or a filmmaker, I would learn what their main pressing issues were. So I would talk to that person, find out what they're working on, and then I would construct a proposal around it. But usually the general idea was to work with young people, whether it was doing painting with sustainable materials and talking about gender or religious tolerance, or whether it was making a documentary film together about young entrepreneurs in the country. You know, it was sort of something that helped and focused on and highlighted some part of the country or some part of the people, or et cetera. And we would fund it, and if the timing was right, or whatever, and I would, as I say, I would fly there for a couple of weeks. The whole thing would be paid for from that budget. I would make my own cultural envoy fee, you know, with a daily rate that I had that I managed to increase over 7 years I was doing this in Kenya or so. So
amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. And what fun, you know, traveling is really the best education. It's so fun. And the people that you meet, they're really treasures and great memories for each and everyone who has the opportunity to do that. So Jason, thank you for that. And what's fun and new now? What's fun and new, and what are you working on?
A lot is fun and new. And I think every day I wake up and life is a comedy skit, but that's fun and new. It's Monty Python 24/7, baby. I mean, Jesus, I can't walk out of the house without doing a British accent. I tell you, come on. A lot. I mean, what I would say is I've been working on a few features and writing those, whether I'm writing it myself or in a lot of cases, I've hired a writer on spec, as we say, to write it, which means I'm not paying you right now, but I'm giving you a contract that's going to make you $150,000 as soon as we get funded, or you know how that works. I've done this. I've been hired on spec myself, and or working with multiple writers. There's a film that came to me because of one comment made by the guy as I was checking out at Natural Grocers. And so Natural Grocers in Sedona. So I live in this weird little town called Sedona, which is the most #1 new age town in America. And so every day is a comedy skit. And so at Natural Grocers, where I literally go every day, I'm like a French shopper. I like to French every day. I like to shop every day instead of shopping a huge amount and stocking up in my fridge. I'm like French, like, no, I would just go every day and get the things I need. And anyway, the guy, he looks like white Jesus, and he wears like a tunic, like he's Friar Tuck, and he's like 6'5", and he's like this white kid from Boston, and he's got a huge wooden cross around his neck. And he said, dude, you're so much like Vince Vaughn. Because I'm always doing jokes as I go through there. Probably like, I'm sure Paul, if Paul was shopping every day at Natural Grocers, Paul would be definitely yucking it up.
Yes.
Everyone there. And this guy was like, you're so much like Vince Vaughn, man. You got to check him out. And then all these things happened. And then I got in touch with this Irish guy. Anyway, it all resulted in me now writing a script with 3 people I've hired to write a script of what's going to be Vince Vaughn's most important dramatic role ever, in which he's an alcoholic, and it's all set in Ireland. And he goes to Ireland, and because I'm also have these Irish roots. But anyway, and he learns to become sober through his journey in there. And what's his name? Colin Farrell is meant to be. These are all, of course, the fantasies we have as we're writing a script. But I'm quite sure that I'll succeed in this case, and Colin Farrell will be the one helping him to become sober. So it's a story of sobriety, and it's also really ultimately, and this is what a lot of my work has been about recently. To me, it's actually a story about men, and it's a story about male mental health.
Oh, this is wonderful.
And what it means to be a man. What are some of the specific ways that we need to heal men?
Yeah.
And the acknowledgement that if we heal the men, we kind of end, a lot of the problems also. So.
Oh, I love this. I love it. Bravo and brilliant, Jason.
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, and I love hearing this. Paul, what are your thoughts?
I love it. I mean, anything that helps, I think, men, especially of a certain age and from certain even ethnicity where it's tough to talk about mental health. It's not something that's talked about. Men can't cry, men can't show emotion. I think anything that helps that is wonderful. And I could definitely see Vince Vaughn doing something like
Right.
this, because he's a great actor. He's
Right.
Sure, he's funny, and a lot of
Right.
times he plays himself, but there's no reason that he shouldn't do this. I'm going to reach out to you because
Okay.
I have a few connections with Vince. I mean, unless
nice.
you already do, but
nice.
the whole Chicago thing.
The one main connection I have, which was part of how I also thought, okay, I can just is a troublesome connection. Let's put it that way. So I'm very happy to hear what you're saying, and please do reach out.
I will. I'll DM you on Instagram. We can reconnect there.
Okay.
And then also I have friends that have this first look deal with Sony, so they're always looking for projects. I can't promise anything, but maybe I can connect you two. So
absolutely
wonderful. Yeah, I love it.
Hey, you're a producer on the film like that, so you know how it works.
Perfect. Done.
There you go. There you go. You know what? I'm doing the happy dance over here because I'm so happy. This is what it's all about. Connection and networking and working together. And I love this. And I'm so sorry. I have to say, we have to start wrapping it up soon. And so we're going to do heart messages and go around to everybody, but it's just been so much great fun with you, Jason. Thank you so much. You are an absolute pleasure. It's so great to have you. So thank you again. Paul, let's start with you. Your heart message for this week, October
2022, heart message, Paul Vatho. I love the fact that we're all somehow bringing the world, making it smaller, bringing it closer to each other. And a lot of it is through these exchanges, going to Africa, not to help, but because of a relationship, but then getting so much out of that. And then us doing shows like this. I know, I have my own podcast, Paul Vatho Presents, which I would love to have you on there as well, because I do like talking about the money aspect. How much did you get for this? How much does it cost to make this?
I was thinking about sorry to interrupt, I was thinking about on Clubhouse that we should have a room that's just literally people coming on and saying, this is how much money I made for this. This is how much money I made for that. Like the entire room. I always think about that.
I would love that. Whenever I watch a travel show, I think that it's so important. Even when they're like, oh, I'm in Thailand and I'm eating this. Well, how much is it? I want to know. And it's just out of curiosity, no other reason other than that. So I would love to co-host a room with you on
Yeah,
Clubhouse, and
that would be
continue to make
cool.
the world smaller. I mean, I'm getting listens from Ireland, from all over, from India. I'm like,
Mm,
how are these people finding my podcast? I mean, like 5% are from India, and I'm like, oh my goodness. I mean, without any promotions, that's a lot of people
yeah,
that have found my podcast. So I love that we're able to do this. I love that AJ. Thank you for being the super connector and bringing us all together, and then and Jason being so open with your the information and everything. So thank you. I just want to continue to do this and bring great content to the world as soon as I get my iPhone 14, of course. So
yeah. Don't try before then. It's not.
no, no,
It's
no. I'm not.
important.
I'm not even gonna try. I mean, this phone can barely see me, but
Yeah,
yeah,
it's all
I'm just
fuzzy.
kidding. Of course, everyone get out there and do it. So thank you for joining us.
Yes,
And
everyone have your camera and and film. I love that, Paul. Thank you so much. Thank you. And I loved what you said, Paul. You really are wonderful. Jason, over to you for your heart message for October.
Wow. Heart message. Yeah. I mean, I guess it's really open up that heart, and I think also just what I say Vince, um, but what Vince connected with, in the script I was just talking about, Vince Vaughn, his character is Jake, so I'll say Jake. What Jake connected with was the feminine, the we could say, almost the archetype of the feminine, but to me, the feminine includes all of nature, itself, sort of the earth itself. And again, just harping on, male mental health, I feel like that's why a lot of men are kind of wayward and unhappy and alone and lonely, and is they're disconnected from the feminine, really, in general, but in specifically nature itself. So I guess my message is just go out there, just go to a forest and take off your shoes.
I love that. I love that. And I'm going to add on to that. That was brilliant. I'm going to add on to that. Hug a tree. If you're walking by a park or you see a tree, you can hug the tree and say, thank you, tree, for for giving us oxygen to breathe. But my heart, I love that so much. Thank you so much for being a fantastic guest.
Thank
Jake,
you guys.
you're amazing. And my heart message is also anything is possible. Keep that kindness moving forward, just like Paul and Jason are doing. And also one more thing that you said, Jason, I wanted to touch on. You are not alone. The men out there, you're not alone. And the women out there, you're not alone either. So reach out. There's help, there's support. And yes, so thank you so much for a wonderful Film Talk with AJ Dean show, Jason. And
Thanks, guys.
thank you. Go ahead. What'd you say, love?
Oh, sorry. Just saying thank you, guys. That was really, really fun. Appreciate that.
That's wonderful. Okay, so until we meet again, and we'll see you on Clubhouse, Jason.
Absolutely.
Thank
We're
you,
gonna do
Paul.
that. Me and Paul are gonna do the money room. Be honest, money room, guys. What are we hiding?
Beautiful. All right. So until we meet again and on Clubhouse, thanks again and au revoir. Support Jason Corder and Corder Productions. Support Paul Vato, and please click and support and subscribe. And thank you again for watching. And until next time, bye-bye.